The rain came down like God was emptying buckets from heaven, and I was soaked through to the bone when I saw them on the side of the desert road. The wagon was tilted bad. The left rear wheel had cracked clean through, and it was clear as daylight that these two women weren't going anywhere without help. My name is Jacob Morgan, and I'm 42 years old. I've spent the better part of my life working cattle across Arizona territory, and I've learned one thing for certain: the desert has a way of testing you when you least expect it. It tests your patience, your strength, and your character. But mostly, it tests whether you're the kind of man who stops to help a stranger or the kind who keeps riding. I'd been riding for 3 days straight, heading north from a cattle operation near the Mexican border. The work had been hard, breaking wild horses, mending fences, doing all the things that ranches need done, but that no one wants to do. I had maybe $200 saved up, and I was planning to head into town and spend it on a few nights of decent food and a soft bed. That was before I saw the wagon. The two women were standing beside it, looking defeated in a way that made my chest tighten. The taller one had dark hair that was plastered to her face from the rain. The younger one was trying to look brave, but I could see the fear underneath. "Need help?" I called out, pulling my horse up beside them. The taller one looked at me with eyes that were the color of storm clouds, gray-green, sharp, intelligent. "We can manage," she said, but her voice said something different. It said they'd been stranded for longer than they wanted to admit. It said they'd been hoping someone would come, and now that someone had, they weren't sure whether to trust it. "Name's Jacob Morgan," I said, dismounting. The rain was cold, and the wind was picking up from the west. It was the kind of weather that could turn dangerous fast out here in the desert. That wheel's going to need more than management. It needs replacing or serious repair, and this rain isn't going to make that easier. The younger one, maybe mid-20s, with a softness to her face that spoke of gentleness and kindness, spoke up. "We're headed to Silver Creek. We have family there. If we can just get this wagon moving." "You won't make it 5 miles in this condition," I said. I was already examining the wheel, seeing what needed to be done. The crack ran deep through the hub, and there was splintering in the wood that meant the whole thing was compromised. Wheels crack through the hub. You'd flip before you got halfway there, especially in this rain. The roads will be mud soon. You'd be stuck for certain. The taller woman's name was Eleanor. The younger one was her sister, Catherine. They were from back east. I could tell by the way they talked, the careful diction, the words they chose, the way they pronounced certain words differently than the women I'd known out west. They'd come out here because their father had left them a piece of land near Silver Creek, and they were trying to make something of it. "We don't have money to pay you," Eleanor said, and there was pride in the words, the kind of pride that comes from being broke but not broken. "Our father left us the land, but money was never his strong suit. If you can help us, we'd be grateful, but we can't pay you." "I'm not asking for payment," I said. "I'm asking you to get out of the rain and let me work." There was a lean-to about a quarter-mile back, an old prospector's shelter that hadn't been used in years but was still sound. The roof was holding, the walls were solid, and it would keep them dry. I got them settled there with what supplies they had in the wagon. Some blankets, a canteen of water, some hardtack, and jerky that would at least quiet their hunger. "I'll take maybe 4-5 hours to fix this wheel," I told them. "You stay here, keep dry, and don't worry about anything else." "What about you?" Catherine asked. There was concern in her voice, genuine concern for a stranger, which was rare. Most people looked out for their own. "I've worked in worse," I said. It was true. I'd spent summers under the blazing sun, fixing fences and working cattle in heat that would melt most people. Rain was nothing compared to that. Eleanor walked me back to the wagon. She was tall, maybe 5'8" or 9", which was tall for a woman. She moved with a kind of grace that didn't match the rough conditions of the frontier. But there was also a competence in her movements, a sense that she was someone who could handle herself. "I need to ask you something," she said, "and I need you to answer honestly." "All right," I said. "Why are you helping us? We're strangers. You don't know us. You don't owe us anything. Most men I've met out here wouldn't stop." I thought about it for a moment. It was a fair question. "Because that wheel didn't break itself," I said. "And because two women stranded on a desert road in a rainstorm isn't a situation that fixes itself either. Because my mother taught me that you help people when you can, and asking why is just an excuse not to do it." Eleanor was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded, like something in her had recognized something true in what I'd said. "My father would have liked you," she said finally. "He believed in that too. He was a good man, but he wasn't practical. That's why we're out here, actually. He believed we should have independence, that we should own land and build something. My mother thought he was crazy." "Maybe he was," I said, "and maybe that's not a bad thing to be." The rain kept coming. It was the kind of rain that makes you question your choices, that makes you wonder why you're out in the middle of nowhere trying to fix a wheel that doesn't belong to you for women you've never met. But there was something about Eleanor's voice, about the way she'd said "we can manage," something that made me want to prove to her that accepting help wasn't failure. It took me 4 hours in the rain to fix that wheel. I had to replace the entire hub, which meant taking the whole wheel apart, removing the damaged wood, and carefully installing new wood that I carved from some scrap lumber I found near the prospector's shelter. My hands went numb from cold. My back screamed in protest. My fingers bled where I'd cut them on the rough wood. But I kept working because that's what you do when something needs doing. The work was meditative. There's something about having a clear problem and working toward a clear solution that settles the mind. You don't have to think about anything else, just the work. Just the hands doing what they need to do. By the time I was done, the rain had started to ease. The clouds were breaking apart, and I could see patches of blue sky appearing to the west. I drove the wagon back to the lean-to, where Eleanor and Catherine were waiting. Eleanor came out and looked at the wheel, running her hands over the repair. Something changed in her face. It was like she was seeing something she'd stopped believing in. That there were people in the world who would help without expecting something in return. "It's good as new," she said. "Better than new," I corrected. The original wood was already starting to fail. I put in stronger stock. "It'll hold for years if you maintain it." "We can't repay you," Eleanor said. There was sadness in her voice, and I understood it. They were proud people who didn't like accepting charity. "You don't have to," I replied. "Just get to Silver Creek safe. That's payment enough for me." "Come with us," Catherine said suddenly. Eleanor shot her a look, but Catherine continued, undeterred. "We're going to need help building. We have land, but it's just land. It's raw and untamed, and we need someone who knows how to work it. Someone who understands how to build something from nothing." I should have said no. I had a good job waiting for me north of here, working cattle for a ranch that paid decent money and treated their hands fair. I had plans. I had a future that was mapped out, safe, predictable. "I've got a job," I said. "Working cattle for a ranch 3 days' ride from here. I've got a contract." "Then come when you're done with the contract," Eleanor said, and there was something in her voice, something that made me understand this wasn't just about needing a ranch hand. "Come see us when you're able. We'll make it worth your while." "Eleanor," I started. "Please," Catherine said, "we're all alone out here. Our father's land is good, but it's just land without someone to help us work it. We have a cabin, some tools, supplies. We just need someone who knows what they're doing." I looked at Eleanor, and she was looking at me with an intensity that felt like it could burn through stone. "I'll come," I heard myself say. "When my contract is done, I'll come see you." Eleanor smiled then, and it was like the sun coming out. "Thank you," she said, "for everything. Not just for fixing the wheel, for stopping, for caring." "It wasn't hard," I said. "Caring, I mean." It didn't take much effort. They left the next morning, and I watched the wagon roll away towards Silver Creek. And I stood there in the clearing beside the prospector's shelter, knowing that something had happened in that moment. Something that changed the shape of the future in a way I couldn't quite understand. 3 weeks later, I was done with the cattle job. I'd fulfilled my contract, and I had enough money to get me through the winter if I was careful. The ranch foreman had offered me a permanent position, good wages, steady work, all the things a man should want. But my mind wasn't on it. My mind was on a woman with storm cloud eyes and a sister who offered kindness to strangers. I tried to convince myself that what I'd felt out there in the rain was just gratitude, just the natural warmth that comes from helping someone in need. But I knew that was a lie. What I'd felt was something deeper, something that had roots. Silver Creek was a small town, barely big enough to be called that. It had a general store run by a man named Marcus, who sold everything from flour to ammunition. It had a saloon that served whiskey and beer and sometimes food if you were lucky. It had a blacksmith, a gruff man named Samuel, who could fix just about anything with metal. And it had about 40 houses scattered across the valley in no particular pattern, belonging to ranchers and prospectors and people just trying to make a living in a hard place. The land Eleanor and Catherine owned was on the edge of town, 160 acres, with a small cabin already built, probably by prospectors or someone else just passing through. It wasn't much, but it had good water access, and you could see the mountains from the front porch. When I rode up, Eleanor was working the fence line. She was wearing pants, actual work pants, not a dress, and she had a hammer in her hand. She was trying to repair a section that had fallen down, and she was doing it with determination, but not with skill. The way she was hitting the nails suggested she'd never used a hammer before. When she saw me, she stopped what she was doing. For a moment, we just looked at each other across the distance, and something passed between us. A recognition, an acknowledgement of something that had started in the rain and had been growing in the time since. "You came," she said. "I said I might," I replied. "I didn't think you would." "Neither did I admitted. "But here I am." She smiled then, and it was the kind of smile that changes things. I stayed for a week. Catherine made us meals from supplies they had stored in the cabin. Beans, hardtack, some preserved vegetables from the previous owner's garden. The food wasn't fancy, but it was made with care, and that mattered. I helped them build a proper shelter addition to the cabin, fixed the fence properly, got the land ready for a garden, cleared out the well so the water would be clean. Every night after Catherine went to bed, and I noticed she started finding reasons to go to bed early, Eleanor and I would sit on the porch after the work was done. We'd talk about everything, about why we came west, about what we wanted from life, about the things we'd lost, and the things we were still hoping to find. "My father left us this land because he thought we needed saving," Eleanor told me one evening. The stars were so thick in the sky that they looked like someone had scattered diamonds across black silk. He thought if we came west, away from all the rules and expectations of Boston society, we'd find husbands and settle down and become normal women. He meant well, but he didn't understand. Catherine and I, we don't want to be saved. We want to save ourselves. "And are you?" I asked. "Saving yourselves?" "We're trying," she said, "but it's harder than I thought it would be. Harder and lonelier. Most people out here don't understand why two women would want to run a ranch. They think we're crazy or desperate or both. The men either pity us or see us as targets, people with land who are too weak to defend it." "You're not weak," I said. "No," she agreed, "but we're also not enough. Not yet. We need help to build this into something real. We need someone who believes that women can own land and work it and make decisions about it." "I believe that," I said. She took my hand then, and we sat like that, not speaking, just being in the presence of each other as the night deepened around us. Over the next year, I came back 7 times. Sometimes for a week, sometimes just for a few days. I'd work my jobs, cattle drives, fence repair, breaking horses, and then I'd come back to Silver Creek. It became the thing I looked forward to. Not the money, not the status, but those nights on the porch talking to Eleanor. Those mornings working the land beside her. Those moments when she'd look at me like I was someone worth believing in. We worked the land together. I taught Eleanor how to handle a hammer properly, how to read the weather, how to judge whether the soil was ready for planting. She taught me about the Eastern traditions she'd grown up with, about books and philosophy and ways of thinking that were different from what I knew. We challenged each other. We built something together. Catherine saw it before Eleanor did. She saw it in the way Eleanor's face changed when she heard my horse coming up the road. She saw it in the way I looked at Eleanor when Eleanor wasn't paying attention. And she started finding reasons to be away, visiting neighbors, going into town, leaving Eleanor and me alone together. One evening, Catherine announced that she was going to visit a friend in town and wouldn't be back until the next morning. She said it with a knowing smile. "She's giving us time," Eleanor said after Catherine left, and there was something vulnerable in her voice. "She knows." "Knows what?" I asked, though I already knew. "That I love you," Eleanor said, "that I'm terrified of it, that nothing in my life has been certain, and you're the only thing that feels like it might be." I pulled her close, and for the first time she let me. We stood on the porch as the evening turned to night, and I held her like she was the most precious thing I'd ever touched. "I love you too," I told her. "I think I've loved you since that first day in the rain, since you asked me why I was helping you." "We can't do this," she said, but she was holding on to me tighter. "You have a life, a job, a future that doesn't include us. I can make a different future," I said. "I can build one here. You don't have to. Just because you helped us doesn't mean..." "This isn't about obligation," I interrupted. "This is about choice. I'm choosing this. I'm choosing you." Winter came early that year, and it came hard. The snow piled up so deep that the roads became impassable. I was stuck at the ranch. Not a bad thing exactly, but it meant I couldn't work for wages, couldn't earn money, and couldn't provide for Eleanor the way I wanted to. I'd given my notice at the cattle ranch in November, told them I wasn't coming back after the season ended. The foreman had tried to convince me to stay, but I'd made my choice. Eleanor was more important than a steady job. Building something with her was more important than building someone else's ranch. Catherine got sick in December. It was pneumonia, and it was serious. The fever came on suddenly, and within 2 days, she could barely get out of bed. Eleanor nursed her day and night, barely sleeping. I did what I could, kept the fire going, brought water, hunted for meat when supplies ran low. We had dried food, but Catherine needed nutrition, needed strength to fight the illness. There was a doctor in Silver Creek, but he was expensive, and Eleanor was worried about paying him. I went into town and borrowed money against my future wages. Wages I wasn't even sure I'd be able to earn if I stayed here at the ranch. The doctor came out on a cold December morning and examined Catherine. He told us straight, it could go either way. She was strong, which was in her favor. But pneumonia was pneumonia, and people died from it every day. Keep her warm, he said. Make sure she drinks fluids. Keep her rested. And pray if you're the praying kind. For 3 days, we thought we might lose her. Her fever climbed so high that Catherine didn't recognize us. She called out for people who weren't there, lived in fever dreams that seemed to terrify her. Eleanor sat beside her bed and held her hand and spoke to her in the voice of someone trying to keep their sister tethered to the world. I made broth from the meat I hunted, and we tried to get Catherine to drink it. I sat with Eleanor while she slept in the chair beside the bed, and I prayed, even though I hadn't prayed in years, for Catherine's life, for Eleanor's peace of mind, for the strength to keep going if the worst happened. But Catherine was tough. She pulled through. On the 4th day, her fever broke. By the 5th day, she was sitting up and taking broth on her own. By late December, she was well enough to stand again. That's when Eleanor asked me to marry her. We were sitting in the cabin, near the fire. Catherine was resting, and Eleanor and I were alone. She took my hand and looked at me with those storm cloud eyes. "I know that's not how it's supposed to be," she said. "I know a man is supposed to ask, but I'm tired of waiting for life to happen the way society says it should. I'm tired of being proper and careful. I want to marry you, Jacob. I want to build this life with you, and I don't want to wait another day to do it." I pulled her into my arms and kissed her like I'd been wanting to kiss her since that first day in the rain. "Yes," I said, 1,000 times yes. We got married in Silver Creek 3 weeks later, with maybe 30 people at the ceremony. It was a cold day, and there was snow on the ground, but the church was warm, and it was filled with the people we'd come to know in our time here. Catherine stood with us as witness. The preacher, an old man named Reverend Walsh who'd come west before anyone else, didn't quite know what to make of a woman proposing to a man, but he married us anyway, because Eleanor had a way of making people believe in what she believed in. After the ceremony, we walked back to the ranch through the snow. Eleanor was wearing a simple white dress that Catherine had helped her make. I was wearing the best clothes I owned, a suit that had seen better days, but was respectable enough. "I don't have much to offer you," I told her as we walked. "No house yet, no fortune, just my willingness to work and my promise to love you. I'm 52 years old now, and Eleanor is 48. We've been married for a decade, and it feels like both a moment and a lifetime. We've built something together that's bigger than either of us imagined. We have 2 children, Sarah and Thomas, and Catherine has married a man named William who came to work the ranch and ended up staying forever. Sarah is 8 years old, and she has her mother's intelligence and her mother's stubbornness. She loves to ride horses and work the land. Thomas is 5, and he's quieter, more thoughtful, always watching and learning before he does. When I think back to that day on the desert road, to the rain and the broken wheel, and the 2 women who had no reason to trust me, I realize that fixing that wheel was the easiest thing I'd ever done. What came after, building a life, opening my heart, learning to love without fear, that was the hard part. But it was worth it, every moment of it. Eleanor still works the land beside me. She's learned so much over these 10 years. How to manage cattle, how to read the seasons, how to make decisions about the ranch. She's become a rancher in every sense of the word. Catherine is Eleanor's partner in running the household, raising the children, managing the supplies and the food stores. The cabin we started in has become a house, a real house with separate rooms and proper floors, and a porch that wraps around the entire front. The fence line we built together has expanded to mark hundreds of acres. The land that once seemed impossible to tame is now thriving, sustainable, beautiful. But the thing I'm most proud of isn't the land or the house or the cattle or the business we've built. It's that Eleanor looks at me the same way she did that first evening on the porch, like I'm someone worth believing in, like I'm someone worth the risk. And more than that, it's that our children are growing up knowing that women can own property, that they can work hard and build something with their own hands, that love isn't weakness, it's the strongest thing we have. Sarah asks me sometimes about that day in the rain. She's heard the story from Eleanor so many times that it's become part of our family mythology. "Why did you help them, Papa?" she asks. "You didn't know them." "Because they needed help," I tell her, "and because helping people is what good people do." "Would you have married Mama if you hadn't fixed the wheel?" Thomas asks one time. And it's the kind of question that only a 5-year-old can ask with such innocent profundity. "Maybe not," I admit, "but the wheel wasn't the important part. The important part was that your mother was brave enough to ask for help, and I was brave enough to give it. And then we were both brave enough to take a chance on each other." Sometimes people ask me how I knew. How I knew that helping a stranger in the rain would lead to the best life I could have asked for. How I knew to stop when I could have kept riding. The truth is, I didn't know. I just fixed a wheel because it needed fixing. I came back because something pulled me back. Something I couldn't name or explain. Just a feeling that this was important. And when Eleanor asked me to marry her, I said yes, because saying yes was the most important decision I'd ever made. That's how life works sometimes. You fix a wheel in the rain for two women you don't know, and they change everything. You help because it's the right thing to do, and then you stay because staying is what your heart is asking for. You build a life with someone, and you realize that all those plans you made before don't matter. Because this moment, this person, this future is what you were always meant to have. Eleanor told me something last week that I think about constantly. We were sitting on the porch, older now, both of us, but no less in love than we were 10 years ago. Sarah and Thomas were asleep inside. Catherine and William had gone to town for supplies. It was just us, like those early evenings when we first started falling in love. I came west to save myself, she said, but I ended up being saved by a man who didn't even know he was saving me. He just fixed a wheel and asked nothing in return. I came west to fix a wheel, I told her, but I ended up finding everything I didn't know I was looking for. She took my hand, and we sat there watching the sunset paint the desert, gold and orange and red. And I thought about how life is strange and beautiful and unpredictable. How sometimes the best things happen when you're not looking for them. How a broken wheel in the rain can lead to a lifetime of love. That's what I tell people now when they ask me how it all started. It started with a wheel, I tell them, and a man willing to fix it in the rain, and a woman brave enough to ask for help, and two people willing to take a chance on something they couldn't see coming. It started with kindness, I tell them. And kindness, it seems, is the best foundation for building a life.